I would describe having a parent with Alzheimer's as a mourning process, and you begin mourning from the moment they're diagnosed.
I was 19 when she was diagnosed, and she came home and said that they'd said it was a form of Alzheimer's, and then she was really teary because she was really worried that she'd forget she loved me.
You want your mum there when you get married and your dad there when you get married, and you want them to know their grandchildren, and you've got to come to terms with the fact that that's not going to happen.
This is not the natural order of events. You're a child or a teenager barely starting out in life yourself, and you're told your parent has dementia. And those parents? They're young too. Indeed, it's called early onset to describe the diagnosis in anyone under the age of 65.
She's already gone in terms of her mental state, so I lost her effectively at 19.
Chris Williams is now 22, finishing his teaching diploma. 4 years ago, his mother was told she had Alzheimer's. She was only 59. Chris is now one of a group of young people who has taken part in the first ever study into the devastating impact the condition has on them.
I never quite got to have an adult relationship with my mum. I suppose when you are a teenager, we understand that teenagers have turbulent relationships with parents, but we also understand that as you get into your 20s, that is the time to heal those relationships, and that opportunity has been taken away from me, and that causes me a lot of frustration because, you know, I'd like to say sorry that I was a certain way when I was 15, but I'll never get to say that.
Chris also told us that he had come out as gay to his parents, but his mother has forgotten, and she now keeps asking if he has a girlfriend.
When you're a teenager and you make that decision that you're going to come out to your parents, it's a life changer, and you don't do it with the intention of doing it again and again and again. And so I think it spares me a lot of pain to just ignore her question, or to just say, no, I don't have a girlfriend.
There are about 42,000 younger people with dementia in the UK, though the difficulty in diagnosis means that figure is probably far higher. Pat Sykes began the research partly because of her own husband, diagnosed when he was 57, and her children were 15 and 13.
Our family experienced a man who became apparently increasingly irrational, whose obsessions and compulsions got in the way of our day-to-day life, whose behaviours made the kids feel quite embarrassed on occasion. And I thought, well, if it's like this for them, once we'd got a diagnosis and we knew what was wrong, there must be other children and young people who are going through similar things.
And then she doesn't remember it.
For the study funded by the Alzheimer's Society, Professor Sykes, with researcher Mel Hall, spoke to 22 children and teenagers. The youngest of them was just 6 years old.
They'd been saying that the dad was depressed, that he was stressed at work, and so on and so forth. But the Lego comes out on Christmas Day, and his dad couldn't do it. His dad couldn't do the Lego with him. And I mean, obviously the child had listened to his mother and her friends talking, and he saw this as, I think he sort of almost saw it as being, he was responsible for his dad becoming ill because he couldn't do the Lego. Some of the things that we've found out that I wouldn't have expected to find out is people talk about cancer envy. So they're envious of kids whose parents have got cancer, because with cancer there's potentially a cure, there's hope. There isn't that for somebody with dementia.
All of them too talk about how isolating this diagnosis is, how difficult it is to tell their friends or for their friends to even understand.
The only way people could really relate to my experience was through talking about a grandparent, which then made me really, really upset and angry, because my granny had dementia and I lost her when I was 15. But losing a grandparent is incredibly different to losing a parent. It's really hard and horrible to lose a grandparent to dementia, but it's like a billion times worse when it's your parent.
Twice a week, Olivia Barnett visits her mother in this nursing home. Former journalist Miriam Darby was just 55 when she was diagnosed in 2011. Olivia was 19.
I kind of started to notice when I was 16, because you start going to shops and bring back the wrong thing for dinner, and then kind of things in our house started going wrong, and she didn't know how to fix them. Like she didn't have the thought process to be like when the boiler breaks, she didn't have the thought process to call the plumber, and she lost her credit card about 5 times in probably about as many months when I was doing my A-levels, so that kind of alerted me that there was something that's not quite normal going on, because she's usually been very, very with it.
Olivia describes her mother as the kindest, best person she's ever met. Her sense of loss is enormous.
Now she's really not very well. She's kind of stuck in bed, can't really do anything. She can't eat, so she has like power smoothies, I guess. Yeah, she's not very well.
Is it hard going to see her?
Yeah, it is really hard. Like I always try to be there for her as much as I can, and I still tell her everything about my day-to-day life and all the stupid things I've done. Yeah, no, it is really hard because I'd love to have a conversation with her.
What is clear from the study is how important it's been for all these young people like Olivia and like Chris to be able to talk. For many of them, this research was the first time they had been able to unburden themselves. And it was the first time they realised they weren't alone.